Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Iylia Nur binti Muhammad Mashud. I'm preparing this slide for Dr. Razak. Today, I'm going to present critique paper from article Eating is Not Just Selling Food, Food Practices in the Context of Social Class Trajectory. Abstract. In the recent year, the existence of distinct elite or highbrow based on popular culture forms has been questioned. In this study, the researcher wanted to examine how habitats from class of origin can influence food disposition, as well as how participants use food and talk about food to mark symbolic and moral boundaries on the basis of class. This resulting in situation of disrupted habitats make use of available hierarchies in eating practices to symbolically mark class boundaries and displaying relationship with or distance from particular class group through food. And this qualitative study involved 16 families in which at least one parent had experienced significant class trajectory, upward or downward. So what are the problem? As mentioned earlier, the problem is how people use food practices and food talk to signal alignment with or distance from particular classes and the social process of boundary making through food. So these are some of the terms defined in this article. Firstly is habitus, is the embodiment of class through the development of taste for particular culture form. Next is culture omnivorous thesis, is a situation where social elites may consume both high and low brown cultures, valuing breadth and variety over exclusivity. And then trajectories. Trajectories is the movement of the family from one social class to an upward or downward. Lastly is pragmatism. Pragmatism is a family that focuses on utilitarian necessity with few elements of choice or satisfaction. For example, a family will not buy a fancy cake unless for birthday purpose, means they will not simply waste money on things that they did not need. So these are the literature review. So the researchers start with take eating habit of Eastern Scotland and Northeast England as example. For Eastern Scotland, healthy eating was a major focus for middle class parents. For example, they cook balanced from the starch and then they avoid prepared food. While for Northeast England, is the people living in poverty discursively position themselves as healthy eaters. So for literature review, the researchers start with culture distinction and omnivorousness, followed by food as site of class distinction and food practice in class trajectories. So from my reading, there's no bias in the literature and it's not too narrow. However, some of the keywords are not well defined. For example, like eating pattern and socioeconomic. This might be easy to understand, but since it is the keyword for this article, it needs to be defined clearly. Okay, this is the design procedure. Method used is qualitative study involve 105 families in 10 sites, rural and urban area across Canada, with annual income range from $8,000 to $420,000. The interview, guided by critical theory and social constructivism, they study explore on how gender, class, and place shape food practice. And then in each families, they interview at least two members, one adult and one teen, aged 13 to 19 years. And then they have two slot of interview. The first interview is a semi-structured interview. Participants were asked about typical eating habits, their food shopping, and then they were giving camera to capture food that they eat regularly, they enjoy or they dislike, or any place they shop or restaurant that they refuse to come again. And then from the photo is the basis for the second interview, where researcher will give photo of food and eating establishment and ask the family to sort the image into categories of comfortable or uncomfortable food. This is the data analysis. Researcher analyze by categorizing into four classes. First is the account education. Second is income and occupational prestige. Number three is confusing situation. So 6 families had clear upward trajectories and 7 families had clear downward trajectories. Besides that, interviews were recorded, professionally transcribed verbatim, and thematically coded using atlas. So through my reading, the experiment design they used were appropriate to the objective of their study because they were able to have a productive flow of the subsequent method involved. The method step-by-step process was stated very clearly. So from the study, these are the findings. There's 4 findings for this study. Firstly is the pragmatic versus pleasure. This has happened among most participants who were low income, but also many of those who had experienced upward mobility but carry a frugal pragmatic habitus with them. Uh, those with low income intended to shop from a list or buy in bulk and use coupon. They had extensive knowledge about sale, discount, price, and cost. Day shopping was based on need, budget, and cost convenience. Next is the aesthetic and pleasure. This is happen among those with an upward class trajectory. Okay, means who had the financial resources and turned a biological necessity into aesthetic choice and display of symbolic capital. Next is distancing from low-brow food, a discover of healthy eating. Uh, this is regardless of class trajectory. Okay, this type of family distance themselves from food perceived as lower class. For example, soft drink, fast food, junk food, processed meat, powdered milk, or margarine. And most often, this is accomplished due to healthy eating. Lastly is distancing through cosmopolitan and omnivorous eating associated with upper class. So the participant vigorously distance themselves from pre-packaged and pre-prepared food, which seem to be seen as common and lower quality. So as for conclusion, this study identified 2 distinct food orientation. One focused on pragmatic utilitarianism and one more focused on food on pleasure among these participants who had experienced upward, downwards, or mixed class trajectories. Uh, for me, the topic is appropriate for the journal. The title for the paper precisely states the subject of the article, and the researchers make an insightful observation. They make enough data and research to support the claim. In addition, the article show is logically organized and appropriate. For recommendation, yes, the researchers were able to present the study they did in clear and logical manner, but for improvement, future studies should attend on intersection of class with ethnicity or race because the ethnicity show different lifestyle. So that's all for me. Thank you very much.